Oracle JavaScript Extension Toolkit, or JET, is an open-source technology stack that front-end developers should evaluate when planning to create apps. JET includes a collection of open-source solutions along with a library of Oracle contributed components such as graphs and charts, plus command-line interface tools that help you create apps and web components aimed at consuming and interacting with back-end cloud services such as those provided by the Oracle Cloud. As of July 2021, with the release of JET 11, JET supports development of apps and web components using a virtual DOM architecture pattern based on the React-compatible Preact library. This provides an alternative for app developers who prefer the React-type development paradigm to the model view model architecture pattern that JET has supported since its initial release. It is important to note that JET will support both the MVVM and virtual DOM architectures over the coming years. Regardless of the architecture pattern that you choose for your app's development, JET provides a range of components and best practices, including the Redwood design system, single-page application architecture, responsive design, modularity, localization, accessibility, and an extensible audit framework, which are useful for developers working on large enterprise apps that need to leverage new techniques that modern innovations in TypeScript and JavaScript, HTML, and CSS make possible. Providing a toolkit instead of a framework is intentional. JET is designed to allow developers to use as little or as much of the toolkit as they need for their specific apps. Everything you need to know about app development with JET is described on the Oracle JET website. We will be referring to the JET website throughout this video. In this video, you're going to learn how to create the page sample that you're seeing right now. We will make use of JET components and of templates that help structure your work in JET. And we will also learn how the online JET Developer Cookbook can help us in our development efforts. You can use any IDE or editor when creating apps with JET. JET provides its own command line tool, the Oracle JET CLI, that enables you to set up your apps quickly and correctly. JET also provides an extension for the widely used Visual Studio Code, which is the editor that we will use along with the Oracle JET CLI in this video. Let's go to the Oracle JET website and see how the Get Started page shows us how to set everything up. Once you have installed the Oracle JET CLI, you can create a variety of different apps using the command line arguments that it supports. Visual Studio Code automatically recognizes the directories as new projects using the various technologies that JET supports. Without doing any coding, let's run the virtual DOM app that uses the Webpack bundler. The app is deployed to the browser, and we see that the template renders a basic starter page. The template sets up our app with responsive design so that it automatically restructures itself depending on the current device size. Note that the ojetserve command supports live reloads, continuously redeploying as you edit the code. Let's now start using some of the JET components in our virtual DOM app to render the chart that we see on screen. JET provides a select single and a chart, which are the two components that we'll use to render this functionality. Let's go to the cookbook and view implementations of these components. The cookbook provides us with a source view where you can view the HTML, the TypeScript, or the JavaScript that you need to render these components in an MVVM app. And although the cookbook does not yet demo the JSX that you need for your virtual DOM app, TypeScript is the default for all the cookbook examples, and that helps us implement the functionality we want in the virtual DOM app by, for example, identifying the import statements to use in our TSX file. Here we are going to take some HTML and put it into the JSX environment of our virtual DOM app. Once we have included this code in our app's TSX file, we need to make various updates, such as use JSX rather than HTML attributes, to refer to our data provider. And we also need to import the module for the select single component and data provider that we will use. We also need to define types for the chart component. Once we complete these changes, we can render the select single component that allows us to choose between a pie chart and a bar chart. Elaborating on this further, we import the chart component and hooks that allow us to keep track of the type of chart that we have selected. If you want to install your JET app on a device, we recommend that you use the progressive web app support that JET provides. Run the ojet add pwa command at the root of your app directory to add the necessary service worker and manifest files. Once you configure your app, you can install it on any device that supports progressive web apps. Oracle JET also includes the Audit Framework, or JAF, a command line utility and supporting API that allows you to audit your JET app by using a rich set of built-in audit diagnostic rules to ensure that you use the latest APIs and accessibility. After you install JAF using the npm install command, you initialize JAF in the JET project that you want to audit. Here we are going to audit a JET project that we want to upgrade from release 6 of JET to release 12. We initialize JAF in the project and change the target version to 12 in the JAF configuration file, as this is the version of JET that we want to upgrade our JET app to. JAF's subsequent audit of the project identifies deprecated APIs and other changes that you should make to ensure a successful upgrade from the earlier release. Using JAF, you can also write your own custom audits as detailed in the JAF documentation. When you're creating enterprise apps, you typically have business requirements such as internationalization and accessibility. JET supports the related standards and techniques. All JET components meet accessibility guidelines such as WCAG 2.0 for both desktop and mobile, and the JET components have been translated into many different languages and over 190 locales. For example, look at this demo where you can see a date time picker. When we select a different language, notice how the tooltips on the component change from one language to another. That's something that you, as a developer making use of JET, do not need to provide, since JET comes with a set of translation bundles. Also notice that JET comes with RTL support, providing support for right-to-left languages such as Hebrew and Arabic. JET supports the creation of reusable web components based on the W3C Web Components standard. Specifically with JET, you can create two types of web component based on the latter standard. As of the initial release of the virtual DOM architecture pattern, you can create components based on JET's vComponent API, which creates virtual DOM-based web components. This is in addition to JET's pre-existing composite API that enables you to create web components more aligned with the MVVM architecture pattern. The JET CLI assists you in creating the component type that you want and in packaging it for distribution after you finalize development. As you can see here, the JET CLI created the web component files that you can use in your app or package for distribution and use by other apps. Oracle Cloud Services have a common extensibility mechanism based on the web components created by Oracle JET. Here you can see how a web component created in JET can be imported into Oracle Visual Builder so that it can be dragged and dropped just like any other component in Oracle Visual Builder. This concludes our introduction to JET. Browse the Oracle JET website to access the many resources that we provide for free to help you learn more about JET.